So, hello, I'm Batty, also known as Heavenbat on the EnterVoid website.
I'm Sai, also TheCydork on the website. TheCydork, Jesus Christ. You want to start again, or do you want to keep that?
I we can start again if you want, but it's really funny that you called yourself Psyduck.
Psyduck. You're a Pokemon now.
Yes.
Keep the bands in. Yeah. Anyway, this is the pilot episode for a new podcast we're trying out that we're tentatively calling Backstage Pass.
The general idea that we're gonna go for with this podcast is that we'll have various Void artists on as guests, and we're gonna be asking them questions and letting them talk about behind the scenes type stuff for their comics that they've posted on the site.
The deep lore VIP exclusive access.
Yes, give us the deep lore.
Deep lore.
uh, do. So for this episode, we're gonna start off by looking at Soul and Flesh, Part 1 by Flighty, and then we'll finish off by asking Sai some stuff about his mentor-trainee roulette.
Yeah, boy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy because it was only a year ago, but I feel like I made that comic years ago.
Yeah.
I know, right? Like, it feels like this comic went up years ago.
It's crazy. Also, did you know that
But
the voting ended on my birthday last year?
nice.
Yeah. December
Birthday
15th.
present.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at it now. Like I said earlier, going through it, the art made me like wince a bit because it looks quite rushed to me. But I still like how it forwarded the story.
Oh yeah, it
Honestly, I think we're all our own worst critic because to me, it still holds up. I mean, I can see what you mean. You've definitely improved since then, but it's not like, oh wow, you've improved so much. You know, it was so rough back then. Like, it's still really nice.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't mind some pages.
I was actually thinking to myself, I quite like Lucy. Is Lucy the female cult member?
Yeah.
Yeah. I quite like her expressions. They're sort of just like sneaky little grins, and I really, really like them.
And they're also like, she is. They do a very good job of conveying like she's maybe not the most sane person.
No. I really like Lucy. She was like, I felt like I needed a character to kind of slowly drip feed information about the cult and how it functions. That was like her kind of purpose.
Yeah, and she does a good job at that too. I mean, I'm kind of
Yeah.
And then I kill her off.
yes. Yeah, I was just about to say rip Lucy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the chat.
F. I also gotta say I did like the dynamic between her and the other cultist, and I liked that the other cultist was actually trying to be a little bit sympathetic to Ray.
Yeah. It's
Like when Ray's literally crying and he's like, dude, I think she like lost a friend, stop having it in.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
She just lost someone.
Yeah, it's kind of like I think with any organisation, at least from like what I've seen and read, you get different levels of extremists. You know, you get people who are like really, really zealous, but you've got to remember there's still people who are like they're benefiting from the organisation they're a part of, but they're not like like cartoonish superhero minions, you know? So
Yeah.
I don't know, it just felt like kind of more fun to have different levels of extremeness and have like a bit of a back and forth between the two of them. I don't know.
It worked out really great.
For this thing?
Yeah. He shows up again, like they both do. Like in my head, they were like Team Rocket or something. I
He's
don't know. Like
he's
they
the
were gonna
James
show
to
up a
her
lot more.
Jesse.
Yeah, yeah. I had like a Beyond Battle planned with just. It was basically like after Lucy died, showing what happened to her body, and like
Ooh,
Ooh.
and like Simon's kind of reaction to it. And I was gonna flesh it out a bit, but then I was like, does anyone
flesh.
care?
I cared. That
So
would be really
Okay, yeah.
interesting,
yeah,
actually.
but I mean, obviously with Red and Blue, I've talked about this to you guys before, but I do wanna make a web comic out of this. So things like that, like characters like this, will be fleshed out more, and stuff like that will occur. But in the space of Void, it's kind of like I almost feel like I would be expecting too much. Um, like, oh, here's a comic about two random NPCs.
I mean,
that
people
you,
have done stuff like that in the past, and it seems to have gone over fairly well. I mean, Monday did that whole, or was it Monday? Yeah, Monday did that whole, posted all of that OCT for the Kill 6 Billion Demons thing, and people
oh,
seem to really like that, so.
yeah, no, that's true. I mean, I'd like to. Well, I'm bringing Hendrix and the cult and everything back. Uh, like in the new year, I'm gonna like get this plot rolling again because obviously I've had a bit of a downtime. So maybe I'll incorporate the ideas I had for that Beyond Battle into like future comics I make.
Ooh,
Um,
eyes emoji.
yeah, because
Yeah.
I liked both of those characters. I really liked Lucy. I dedicated so many pages
We
to
love
her in that
Lucy.
Star Battle. I think in a way, I don't know if you know my magical girl character, Elizabeth.
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I think like she was almost made from like slight concepts of that character, but then toned down like considerably and you know
You
made a
know,
little bit less cartoonish.
I
But
can I
I
can kind of see that, yeah.
yeah, I think I kind of developed that character a bit and made Lucy out of her. Obviously, she's still good, but definitely influences that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like her.
All right. Actually, I think that did a decent job of covering one of the questions we were gonna ask.
Yeah, I thought we were just like chit chatting. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no,
No,
this is
I
going
mean
really
that
well, I
is
think.
that's the main idea is just kind of chit chatting, and then if we need to spur on the conversation or whatever, we've got like a few
yeah,
questions, but it's not like we have to get these questions no matter what, you guys.
Yeah, yeah. I
I
actually
mean,
had a
like,
question that I think got a bit lost because we were all talking, but you were talking about like different levels of cultists, and
yeah.
I was interested, like, did you do research to write the cultists then? Because it sounded
So
like you had it all figured out.
yeah, so like I didn't sit down and say, okay, I'm specifically going to do research for this particular comic, but like I've always had an interest in like cults and like that type of thing. You know, like stuff like Jonestown, Heaven's Gate, even like the
Oh
Manson family to an extent. Like
yeah, the Manson family.
I've always
That was
been kind of
creepy.
like intrigued by this type of thing. So I've like if I'm being honest, I've watched like a lot of documentaries and I've read articles and
Yeah, no.
stuff. So like
It's
it's
really
kind of like
interesting because it's just like, how do you get people to just follow so blindly and to fall so deeply into things where they have to do like really horrible stuff and they're just like, yeah, cool, like we'll do this.
I
yeah.
mean, so it's less of you did research specifically for this comic and more of just you used your knowledge of kind of interests from the past.
Yeah, yeah,
Eh,
exactly, exactly. I think that's a
Yeah,
good approach to storytelling sometimes.
honestly, yeah.
But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, what you were saying, Sai, is really interesting because I completely agree. Like the idea of having a magnetic leader who can just sort of compel people is really strange and interesting to me. I
Yeah.
haven't. I feel like I haven't really had a good chance to explore that properly. Um, but it's definitely something I've thought about a lot with Hendrix. Like I wanted her to be a bit of a strange sort of figure. And then on top of that, on top of being like charismatic, she can put her money where her mouth is, you know? She's actually giving these people abilities.
Yeah. And I think that really
Yeah.
helps, especially in like Void and stuff, where you can do that sort of thing with like giving people powers, and now you're more than just human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll talk about this a bit. So this is gonna kind of come up a lot more in the comics I have planned, but like a part of
Rubs
her
my hands together, my little goblin hands.
a part of her like whole recruitment is she targets people who don't have powers. So it's
Yeah.
like, oh, are you sick of metas pushing you around? Are you sick of being scared of the monsters and like the fucked up stuff happening in your city? Like, join me. I can teach you how to master your body and, you know, have complete control over your life, and you'll never be afraid again.
Yeah, that I can see that working very well in Void.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to use like armor to kind of kickstart more plot, because obviously there's just been this huge catastrophic event in the city that's like really fucked with people. Loads of people have probably died. So what a great like way to campaign and get new members. So it's going to almost be like the smoking gun.
Yeah.
And
I'd imagine
Yeah.
using like an actual natural disaster as like a PR campaign.
I mean, yeah, like she could twist it anyway. Like,
And I mean,
you
you
know,
could even use the recent Smile election things, because one thing you said stood out to me of how Hendrix would kind of frame it of like master your own body. So she could potentially even make it so that people who hate metas kind of like have this reasoning of, oh, this power isn't really meta. It's just I'm mastering my own body.
yeah, it
Yeah.
comes from me. It's like I've unlocked the other 60% of my brain power.
Yeah.
And now I can fucking like flesh weave my arm and turn it into a giant fucking hook. Like,
I love that so much.
yeah. But
Yeah, me
obviously
too.
there'd be levels to this. Like,
Yeah.
I almost don't want to say too much, because it's stuff I want to unravel through
Yeah,
comics,
that's valid.
you know? But it's not just like people walking off the street and they're like, you can join my cult. I'm gonna become a part of you. Like, you know, like, let's go. I don't even think like the perils of Void City would be enough to compel like normal people to agree to something like that. It's got to be more gradual.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I tried to show that with Lucy in the battle with Sal at the start. There was like that gradual decline.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
sort of backstory of Lucy, which I really loved.
Thank you. It was a little self-indulgent on my part, but like I'm glad some people enjoyed it and got a lot out of that character before I killed her.
I mean, I think it, from a storytelling standpoint, it made perfect sense for me to include her backstory in the same comic that she died in, because that gave us, as a reader, a little bit more sympathy towards Lucy before she died.
Context.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
I know, I really liked how you did it. I thought it was
thank
done really well. It didn't feel self-indulgent at all to me. It all flowed really well, and it fit in also with Sal. Saul?
Yeah,
God, really well
I
because
say Sal.
of their, mind powers and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's good. That's cool. Yeah, like it felt necessary to do a backstory, because obviously the Soul and Flesh comics that was supposed to explore the cult a lot and basically show Ray's time when she was imprisoned there. That series I just cut short. I never finished it. So Lucy was going to end up being almost like an ally to Ray, like a kind of they were going to have like a sort of complicated toxic friendship.
Interesting.
But
Love that. Are you going to explore that in your webcomic then?
yeah, probably like the end of Soul and Flesh Part 2 was like the start of what was going to be like a really big arc, but then it was like, I don't know, it kind of dawned on me that I could put those ideas on the back burner and then focus on some comics that engaged a bit more with the site, because obviously on Void to make a webcomic. It's
Yeah.
like, so it's almost like webcomics with training wheels.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
definitely. That actually kind of brings up one of the things I wrote down, which is just, and think I remember you saying this, like, when you were, actually in the process of working on this, is that you mentioned, like, cutting this story arc short. Is there anything you wish that you would have kept in, or anything like any other fun, interesting details that you had to cut out?
mm, I mean, I cut so much. It's like a tricky one because obviously, if I could have, so so the main thing is the thing that comes up a lot is um, I think in my head I'm aware of how traumatic that time was for Ray when she was imprisoned by Hendrix, and I'm like aware that her like quotation marks training was really intense and like almost I torture is maybe like a bit of a strong word, but it was like edging towards that. It was
Yeah,
like really difficult. And part of me wishes that I kind of showed hints of that in part two. So at least there was like, at least it was a little bit more clear moving forward in the archive that like how bad it was for her. So I think that's the main thing I regret, like not having a couple of scenes showing like the training properly.
Yeah,
Um,
because I'm oh, sorry.
yeah, no, that's it. That's really my fault. That's the
I was
main
gonna
thing I
say when I
regret.
read through the archive, I didn't get a sense that there was training either, or that like she had gone. I know she'd gone through something, but I didn't realize the extent of it.
Yeah, it like if you notice at the end of part two, it ends before the training even starts. Like Hendrix is kind of talking about, teaching
Yeah.
her and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
I
he
just
tries.
assumed she escaped before then because the next comic she was escaping. So
She was supposed to be there for like months, like a really long
oh,
oof,
time. Yeah, it was like this whole thing.
yeah.
But yeah, so like
I
I
think
think I was, yeah, sorry.
Sorry. I think you kind of managed to allude to it a little bit with how traumatized Ray seemed to have been afterwards, but I do agree that it could have potentially used a bit more on-screen time. But again, that's hard to figure out how to work into things, especially if
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
wanting to be a bit more engaged with Void as a whole.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. That's definitely my biggest regret. Because
Yeah.
like I'm just flicking through now. What I ended up doing was almost like recap pages at the start of the battle with Guts that just showed like Ray having some tense scenes with Hendrix. There's like one panel which was almost like someone splitting in half, like flesh weaving in an extreme, like horrific sort of way. And then there's like a panel of Hendrix like screaming at Ray, and she's she's supposed to be like controlling her, but I don't think it's particularly clear. So like looking back in terms of storytelling and the visuals and everything, like I have big regrets about how much I downplayed that whole situation. I feel like I almost downplayed it out of like I think it was laziness, really. Like, I think I should have sat down and actually finished the story and just gotten over myself. But I decided not to. I don't know. Yeah,
I
so I do
think
regret
but
that.
it's really hard to do a long storyline. Like, so I
Mm,
don't blame you at all
Oh
for taking
yeah,
another route. And like
and
you said, it
honestly,
engages more with the fight, so it
yeah,
worked out for the better, I think.
mm.
I don't know that I would call it laziness, but potentially just kind of like impatience. I was definitely getting the sense that you wanted to move on and get past this already, and weren't really wanting to spend too much time on this before getting back into the swing of battles and stuff.
Yeah. I think it was like maybe a bit too much, a bit too early. And you can even see in some of the crits, people are like, wow, you've jumped right ahead to, you're like already telling these parts of the story. You're already cracking the mysteries. And I think maybe it was like a little bit too much too quickly. But I'm hoping next year I can revisit the Hendrix stuff and not quite retcon it, but maybe like tell it in a better way, and explain some things.
Flashbacks.
Yeah, yeah. I
Do you
mean,
mean flashback?
Yeah, every time you keep saying, like, flesh things out and stuff, my brain just goes, tee-hee.
I know.
Yeah.
It's
Fun.
it's cursed. But yeah. Those are my regrets. Because I think it had a really strong start, and then I just sort of fizzled out. Yeah. Oh well. Oh well.
It's
Still proud
you
of
live
it.
and you learn.
Yeah, for sure.
I
That's why
still
we're here.
very
Ian.
much enjoy your comics.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm really fond of these characters. I don't think I've ever like cared about overseas before, but yeah, I'm looking forward to doing more comics with them.
And you know
So
we're
cool.
all looking forward to seeing them because we also love these characters.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I'm hoping I can like sneak a comic in for Ray and Blue at the end of the year, like just like something short, like a 3-page thing.
Oh wow, you've only got 11 days. Better
I know.
get on it.
Plus, you're in a battle, yeah.
God.
So, yeah.
Mad lad.
Bad luck. the synchrony.
Sai, you had a question you wanted to ask about the Soul River?
Oh yeah. Yeah, because this seems to be winding down. So I'm just gonna ask like the cool hype question. You know the Soul River in Soul and Flesh Part 1 when Ray appears in this sort of void with Nuesa? Like, where did you get the idea for that? Because I thought that was really cool.
Oh, thank you. I don't know. Like
The imagery, just of these souls like streaming down. I was like,
I just thought it looked cool. Yeah, I was just like thinking about how I wanted to show it because I knew that I liked the idea of ghosts being effectively people who died who had unfinished business. Like I enjoyed that idea. So then it was like, well, how could I show the people who have finished their business and they're just ready to move on to whatever afterlife there is in this universe? And I thought it would be cool if it was like a stream. I don't know. It was like really relaxing, and they were just like going with the flow.
Literally. I
Yeah,
like that it's going through like space and the cosmos too. Like that just gives such a cool image of like, what if you are up in space and there's just this stream of blue going through that would just be so cool.
yeah.
imagine
I think
seeing that.
you can see stuff like that in like really distant galaxies, like these weird I can't say this word. Oh,
Anomalies.
yeah, it's the one. Probably the word came up. I can't pronounce it. Where they almost look like rivers or like strange shapes. It kind of reminds me of that. And obviously, I guess the river Styx was likely an influence that was embedded in my brain. Not a conscious influence, but
Yeah.
when I think about it, it's a lot like the river Styx, but in space.
The river sticks in space. I love it. Now I'm just gonna be like, we're
Hades,
looking
but
for
in
ghosts in space.
Space.
Actually. It's like looking back, it's like I wish I'd made the void like black, a bit darker, because it's very like pale and grey. I don't know. I'd like it to look.
See, I kind of liked it being a bit pale gray, because most people, like, immediately go to the, it's, the void is just darkness, but it's almost like it looks different to ghosts, because you also have, like, the things that should be light are kind of shaded in darker, so it's like, it's almost like somebody inverted a picture of space.
Yeah. No, actually, I didn't think of that. Yeah. I mean, I'd love to be like, yeah, that was 100% my intention. I don't know why it's coloured like that. Like I said, it feels like I drew this comic 10 years ago.
It kind of reminds me of I can't remember the artist's name, but there's this like artist who painted this picture of a diner at night. And all these critics are like, "Wow, amazing! Like, why did you not include a door?" Like,
and he's just like, "Oh my god, I forgot the door again."
Humanity is contained. Yeah, he was like, "Fuck, I've done it again. Shit, stop the door."
I love things like that. Where it's just like, well, that was unintentional, but hey, if it works, it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, really, what you've got to do is like be like, yeah, that was completely what I meant to do.
Totally
I'm,
intentional.
I'm a genius. Ghosts see space inverted.
I feel like there's almost like this trend of ghosts seeing things in black and white, or at least in more muted colors than
Yeah.
regular, like alive people. Because I just was thinking about it, and I can think of several games I've played recently where that happens. If you're a ghost, things become black and white. I'm just like, oh,
Yeah, that's
interesting.
really
Like,
true. Yeah. There's usually some kind of visual change.
yeah.
Um, yeah, it's interesting. I'd never really thought about stuff like that with Blue. The Blue's kind of a weird one because, like, looking back, when I joined Void, I designed her in a really particular way. That's very much like what I thought would look cool as a ghost. You know, she's like this wispy,
Yeah.
like naked, white, glowy person, marshmallow person. With like
With a
a
little
big voice.
flame above her head.
Yeah, like I thought that was interesting. But
Yeah.
then like what I noticed with Soul and Flesh Part One is obviously I had that little cameo from a fellow ghost of Void who visually looks completely different, and
Mhm.
it got me thinking like, is it like should I have some kind of canon? Is there something to differentiate different types of ghosts or souls or spirits? And
That
I
would
don't
be
know, like
interesting.
that like visual difference got me really thinking. Um, and I decided that, and this all came later, like Blue doesn't have her memory, so like her sense of self is kind of faded almost. Like it's not fully manifested.
Oh,
So
so
Yeah.
she's kind of more of a blank slate as opposed to Moesa, who has a very strong sense of self.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean I'm trying like maybe in my canon she has more memories than she does because I think she's actually got a bit of memory loss as well. But I'm just gonna say like it's not. Well, you know, everyone's got their own canons and their own approaches to characters and stuff.
Yeah.
I
But
had
I
a
think
question about Blue. Oh, sorry.
no, I was just saying. I think that explains the visual difference. That like makes my heart happy. So I'm just gonna say that's canon. Like,
It also
that's
kind of
why
makes
she's
sense to
like
me because if Blue has lost her memories and her sense of self, she's sort of faded around the edges, so she looks less like a person and
yeah,
more like
yeah,
a marshmallow, like you said. Whereas Muwei is clearly like a person wearing
yeah.
a dress,
Hmm.
so that fits in really well, honestly.
Exactly, and that was kind of something that I thought of later after being in Void for a bit, because obviously during the character design process, I was just thinking about what I liked in a character.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
it's interesting how when you battle and you make more comics, you can kind of like add a bit to your lore, and I think
Oh
that's
yeah,
quite
totally. I've done that too. Like I can't think
nice.
of any specifics, but I know I've done it.
Yeah, it's like quite dynamic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Um, but
yeah. So I was gonna ask, because you're saying like Blue lost her sense of self, and I know this is bleeding into part two a little bit, but I was just thinking about it when she was like reading her grave, and she's like, "Oh, Marika, oh my God, what if I'm in Japan or something?" And it got me
yeah,
thinking, like if she's forgotten her sense of self, and how come she came back speaking English? Um, like or was that just supposed to be like, oh, because she's forgotten so much she doesn't even know where she was raised, but the grave was obviously in Void City, so maybe she was like, she wasn't like
yeah,
Japan Japanese, she was Void City Japanese, so she spoke English and stuff
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah. She's like Japanese American, but I don't know. That was kind of more of a gag because it like bothered me. Like I thought, oh, isn't it a coincidence that she's buried in Void? Like that's never been acknowledged. Like
Mm.
so, like the fact she wakes up at a grave and she doesn't really have any sort of like visual signifiers of where she is in that moment. She's just in a random graveyard. I don't know. I thought it'd be kind of funny if she. It doesn't really make much sense.
No, I like how she's like, oh my God, a dragon, thank God.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, okay, it's void.
Yeah, no,
it's
I do like that.
yeah, it's kind of like silly. But a lot of stuff around Blue will be explained, like what she is, why she doesn't have her memory. Um, Who,
So she died really young. Oh my god.
yeah, like Mariko is her own thing, and like it's all been planned like ever since I made that comic. So it's like I'm looking forward to doing it, but I don't know when to do it. I
Yeah.
think it'd be quite surprising. I hope so anyway. I don't think people will expect it. So
Maybe battle you can wink wink. So I
Yes.
know I wanted to set that in a graveyard and reveal some grave stuff.
I'm sick of that.
VIP information.
Yeah, I'm sick of
Maybe
it.
you could.
Sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, you go. Sorry.
We're very apologetic.
Yeah, it's like everyone's like, oh, sorry. Oh no, you talk.
Far too polite.
Cast with
I don't know.
anxiety to you.
A handshake. I don't know if I'm gonna address this stuff. It's like I feel like I made mistakes in the past where I got a bit carried away with the linear story I wanted to tell, and I think I need to just like chill out a little bit. Even though I keep saying, "Oh, I'm gonna retire Red and Blue by the end of the year. I'm gonna do everything I want to do with them," like that likely won't be the case if I go at a more sensible pace with the story.
Yeah.
Fair
And there's
enough.
no, sorry.
No, I was just saying fair enough.
Yeah. And there's no reason you can't like do Void and do a potential webcomic at the same time.
Look at Shin.
Yeah,
Eh.
exactly. It's a really good example. And Ravana, to a certain extent.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's multiple creators who are doing comics off of Void.
Yeah. With the same characters too.
Yeah. I mean, right now I don't really feel ready to do a webcomic, but I might do, like, halfway through next year. Who knows? There's no reason to rush Void in the meantime.
Yeah.
So,
But I can definitely understand, wanting to get those story beats out of like, I just want to get to the cool part.
Mood.
it's really hard.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I really like doing a linear story, but it's also difficult to battle people when your characters are in the middle of something really crazy. Because it's
They're like locked, basically.
Yeah. But I think I'll handle it a little bit better. It won't involve like Ray literally being kidnapped and removed from everyone else. That just made it look impossible to battle. Yeah, I've got some ideas.
On that note, so Soul and Flesh was kind of like this culmination of your first few comics, which, as you mentioned, did have that very strong storyline, and you actually got Voider of the Month because you are really good actually at tying other characters into this sort of set storyline that you're trying to tell. So it's kind of like you say that you're not you don't feel that great at it, but I think you're better than you are, honestly.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Honestly. And lots of people love your stuff.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. It's nice when people, enjoy stories you try and tell. I think I've gotten better at battling people and kind of tying them into plot stuff.
I think you do one of the best jobs on the site of like tying characters in because they never feel sidelined and they always feel like they're supposed to be there.
They never feel like shoehorned in or whatever.
That's really nice to hear. I think it's actually quite challenging, and I'm sure I'll fuck it up one day. But like, I think the trick is to battle when your characters are at a good point in their story for it, and with the right types of characters.
Yeah.
Like with Cozy, for example, there was the idea of using red and blue for that battle, but then I was like, nah, it doesn't work. Like, it wouldn't fit. It would feel forced. So let's do something else.
I'm curious at how Wilma fits more
Well,
than red and blue because in my head, Wilma and Remy, I'm like, what?
Which is familiar?
Like, I'm interested.
Yeah, you'll see. I think it'd be kind of different to other comics he's featured in. But he's definitely had some light-hearted moments. in his archive.
He has.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the Melchom one because like that was just two bros chilling, you know?
Yeah. I actually read that. I read through a lot of his archive before the battles,
Same.
agreed. And I was like, oh yeah, I think I can work with this. Yeah, so
I'm seeing different facets of characters. Like
it,
fun just seeing them from the same angle all the time.
yeah, definitely. And I think it'd be an interesting way to like spotlight more of Wilma's personality because it's very like particular. She's really different to Ray and Blue. She's a lot more. I don't know, like she's not bogged down by any plot, so it's almost like relaxing to script her.
You can just do whatever.
Yeah, because with a character with a linear plot, you've almost got to like think 10 steps ahead, and you don't want to write yourself in a corner where you can't do things you want to do later.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, no, it should be fun though. It should be good. I've been dying to do a comic. So
Look forward to it.
Yeah.
Cute.
I think that's about. I can't think of anything else to talk about on this. What about you,
I think
Sai?
that's a nice conclusion.
Yeah.
Yeah. If that's it, no problem.
Well, thank you for agreeing to this, and sorry for all the issues we had beforehand.
No, it's
Yeah,
fine.
I'm so sorry. I'm still so embarrassed about last week.
No,
Especially coming up and seeing you in several different channels being like, if Sai will get his butt up. And I'm just like, oh god. You posted in Maine too, and I was like, why would you call me out like this? Like, you were supposed to do a talk today, but Sai was still in bed. I was like, I'm so sorry. I don't know why.
Sai,
I got
how
it like
dare
so
you
mixed
sleep?
up in my head. Yeah.
No big
It got like really mixed up in my head. Like I sort of knew it was Saturday, but I kind of forgot about time zones, and then I thought it was like at night for some reason. So I was like sleeping just fine. Like today, even though my alarm didn't work, I woke up at like 6:30 because I have this thing where if I know I have to get up early, I almost wake myself up before the alarm.
Yeah.
So, but that day I was just sleeping blissfully on. I was just like, oh, yeah, nothing on today. It's tonight.
Well, we got there in the end. I hope it's like helped you think about, like I know this is like the pilot and just working out the format and stuff. But
Yeah.
it was definitely fun to like sit and like waffle about my characters. I'm sure you could get plenty of people who would be more than happy to come on and do the same.
Yeah, I think that's about it. I've got some stuff for Sai. You can stay on if you want, but if you've got stuff to do, you can head on out.
Yeah, I mean,
So it becomes the interview.
Yeah, I just like take over. I'm like, okay, Batty, Sai, tell me about your characters.
Flighty's running this now.
Let's go. But no, I can head out now if we are done
Yeah.
with Rainbow. So yeah,
It was nice talking to you.
Yeah, for sure. We should chat more.
Yeah.
See you guys later.
Bye.
Bye. Ta-ta.
Alright, Sai.
No.
Putting you on the spot.
Yeah.
It's alright.
I can't fly through Khan. It's just like fool, and then the gun pointing at me, and I'm like, that's how I feel right now.
Yep. So as I've got your mentor roulette pulled up, the first page with David Birch versus Kai. This is very American of me. How do you pronounce that last name?
No, that's fine. That's actually part of why I gave him an English name, because I knew that it would be difficult to pronounce. And also, I feel like in canon, like he would be the kind of person to want to make it easier on people as well.
Yeah.
Rather than being like, no, you have to say my name. He's like, oh, I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry you can't pronounce my name. Here's an easier thing. And it's just like, Kai, baby.
It's like, Gokyun.
Okay.
So it's not pronounced at all the way it's written, but, that's just how it be.
Gokyun?
Yeah, but he goes by Kai
Yeah.
more often, honestly. Yeah.
Alright. I got my windows in the way. No, go away.
Me too. I'm like flagging it up. I'm like, I can't even remember this. Let me flag up my own comic that I forgot.
Okay, so this was the mentor trainee roulette, so that meant that you were working with a void mentor. In this case, it was Sean, right?
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
great.
So how did working with Sean change your usual comics process?
Like, he really reined me in because I'm a really chaotic artist. Like, I have this thing where I can't just sit down and finish one thing at a time. I just kind of hop between things to varying degrees. So before Sean, I wouldn't even thumb the whole comic. I would like thumb some and then leave one page out and then start lining them and then be like, oh no, I'm tired of this. Thumb that last page, start coloring the few lines I had, jump to another page and line that. And it was just really chaotic. It really slowed me down. But it was the only way I could get myself to focus. He was like, no, you have to sit down, sit the fuck down, do your thumbs, do your pencils, and then after you've at least got that, then you can either, line all of them and then color all of them, or like line and then color and finish a page, set it to the side, go to the next one.
Yeah. So it kind of gave you a bit more of like, hey, you gotta do one thing at a time, my dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you keep that after this, or did you kind of go back to your original way of doing things?
I would say I've sort of like slipped halfway. So I'm definitely more organized than I did before, which really helps with my speed and just generally keeping track of things. But I've definitely I don't work on things in order. But I have stuck to like doing one page at a time mostly. So that's good. And plus sometimes I'll text him and he'll be like, "Get the pencils done. Do it. Like I know what you're doing. Stop it."
I see you. Stop it.
Like he just like appears from behind a counter, like looks at me.
And you're just like, I'm being good, I promise. So you still keep in contact with him and he still helps you out after this?
Yeah, occasionally I'll like message him and I'll be like, "Oh, I'm working on this," or can you like just put your eyes on place your eyes upon my comic, thank you. And then we just chat,
Yeah.
I miss slurping a hot one with the boys. Sean, if you're listening, please get back onto slurping a hot one with the boys. That was we used to call morning his time, hence slurping a hot one with the boys. The hot one is coffee.
Yeah.
And just like chatting briefly.
Man, I wanted to join that so many times, but that's always like right as I go to bed.
Aw.
So I'm just like, I have to sleep.
I love that our schedules are almost in sync, even though you are in a completely different country because of your weird like graveyard shift.
Yeah, because I work overnight, so we basically have the same schedule.
Yeah, I mean, that's late at night for me too. Like often I'd have to be like, "Oh, sorry, I've got to go now because I'm really tired."
Yeah, and turns out that's when I go to bed too. Anyways, if I remember correctly, this is the first really grayscale comic you've ever done, right?
Yeah.
How'd that go? How is that different from like doing full color?
Well, it was faster for one, and that was a tip that Sean gave me too. He was like, "Oh, if you feel you don't have enough time to do it, grayscale is your best bet because it's much faster and also no shading, obviously."
Yeah.
I actually found it fairly easy, and I'm glad that people seem to like it too. Because I was reading the comments, and I know a few people were like, "Oh, this is good grayscale." I think it's because values are quite important to me. Like often when I crit, if the values are muddled, I will say, "Look, the values are kind of muddled," and I don't know if that's because like my eyes are bad or what, but if things are in similar colors, it's really, really difficult for me to read. So it just kind of comes naturally to me to put good contrast on things.
Yeah, and you
So
do
it wasn't that hard.
for me, it's really hard to figure out, like, okay, what shade of gray do I use for this? And how do I make it different without making it too different and shit? So I think you did a really good job, like you said, which, I mean, helps, like you said, the values thing helps a lot.
Thank you. Yeah. I know I sort of like I think for this comic I worked a little bit backwards. So like for one I thought, okay, so I'll look at my main character. He has black hair and his skin is it's not like super dark, but he's definitely quite tanned.
Yeah,
So I thought, okay, so we've got some dark, we've got to offset that with a lighter color. So we'll make his shirt like lighter. And then we want him to pop from the environment. But he's got like both light and dark, so we'll put the background in like a mid-tone and things like that. So
yeah. And then
just kind of
I'm just now noticing with that, there's a panel on page 3 that has Kai and David like side by side, and they end up being kind of inverted, because
yeah,
David is white with blonde hair, so his face and hair are kind of pale, so you made the rest of him uh, in darker shades of gray.
yeah.
Interesting.
And then if I'm really stuck, I will just get colors of things and then put white on top of them and then set that layer to color mode and then look at the values
Interesting.
and then I go from there. Yeah. It's really useful even in a colored comic to put that layer on and put color mode because it really shows where your contrasts are.
That's an interesting tip. I'll have to use that in the future. But
These signs.
yeah, make sure you watch your values,
Yeah.
or Sai will come for you.
I'll be like, read it. Crawling out from my cave.
With your little goblin hands, would just be like, "Give me a comic I can read."
No, do you know that I feel really bad the number of times I've written in crit like I couldn't read this or like it was really hard to read.
I mean, it's a important thing, and it's not just you. Like, I have a friend who's slowly losing her sight, and so
Oh, I'm
she
sorry.
requires things to be very high contrast. So if
Yeah,
it's too close in values, she literally cannot see it.
yeah. That sucks though.
Yeah. So it's not only like a good art tip, but it's also an accessibility tip of, make sure your values are
Yeah.
popping.
I think that's the same thing with like handwritten text. Like it's if you put certain fonts, it's easier for people with dyslexia and stuff to read or visual problems.
Yeah, wasn't like Comic Sans one of the most dyslexic friendly fonts or something?
Yeah, because it's sans serif, so there's no extra little bits to get in the way, and I think like the separation of the letters or something made it really easy to read.
Yeah, and I think it's that all of the letters are fairly unique in their uh, design, so
Mm.
none of them look similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, this got on to topography 101.
Yeah, I mean, we
It's
on the
interesting
last
though, I
one we
like
got
that.
off on tangents too, but speaking
Yeah,
of
no, I like that.
what is this font you use? I really like it.
Oh, thanks. It's back issues. Uh, wait. I think it's back issues BB. Or am I just misremembering that because I'm looking at a BB and thinking, oh yeah, BB. Like,
Boopy.
I gotta check it.
Boopy.
The B. It was
Anyways,
from that font site, like Glambot, I think.
oh
It was
yeah,
one of the free fonts.
I love that site so much. It's got so many
I
good
know.
fonts. It's also got some real bad ones.
Yeah. She's scrolling through it now just to have a look.
Yeah, have a
Oh
cheeky
God,
little
I
look.
scrolled at one. Fresh meat, and it's got a picture of teeth there. I don't like that.
Oh boy, that's fun.
I think it was back issues, either back issues alone or back issues, like a little thing at the end.
Yeah. Interesting. I'll have to remember that, because, I mean, I like the font I use too, but this is a nice one as well.
Mm.
I like the
It is back
S's.
issues, baby. I was correct.
Nice. A lot of this, you kind of like talked to me about while you were working on, so I kind of already know the backstory behind this little figure. But for everybody else, what does the little icon that Kai places mean?
Oh, that's a statue of Guan Yin, or I guess I'm not used to the Cantonese pronunciation, the pronunciation. So I don't want to try it. I feel like my mother will manifest physically, even though she's at the market, and be like, pronunciation. Because I'm only used to hearing Mandarin people refer to this goddess, but she's the goddess of mercy. That's also the reason Kai wears a bracelet, like a thread bracelet. That's just follows her what you'd call it, like a school or what, but he is sort of low key into that. It's really hard to explain because he's not like actively religious, but he was just kind of raised in that, and it gives him comfort. So he has to put her statue down first in his house before anything else can go up.
Interesting.
And it's also the reason he doesn't eat beef, if you read his bio.
I don't know that I've ever done that, but I will now.
Yeah. It's just a little idol, and he will occasionally maybe pray to her.
So
I know he has a little prayer in his wallet to her that he might read in times of stress.
Aw.
Yeah, more of a comfort thing than a sort of true
What a
dedication.
good bean.
Yeah.
So sort of like people who, sort of like Christian people who don't go to church but still wear like crosses and whatever.
Yeah. It's quite common. And maybe I would think on feast days he might leave some food out. He doesn't, like, he wouldn't actively go to temples, and I don't think he would, like, on festival days.
Yeah.
It's a bit hard to explain. I feel like Chinese religions are kind of interesting like that, in that what I've seen in my friends and like my own family, there's almost blends together. Like, you can't say there is this one set religion, and I've heard people refer to it as like Chinese folk religion because everything just kind of mashes up together. Like, you can't point and say it's X religion. I know people who worship gods but then also do ancestor worship. Like, my own mom is sort of Christian but also sort of Buddhist, because we have, like, if you look at the religious iconography in our house, it's all Buddhist. She doesn't actively do a lot of Buddhist stuff, and she seems to lean towards the more Christian side of things, which makes sense because, like, her mom was converted by missionaries, but then still kept some of her old religious ties. So
yeah.
And then I know other people who like have Buddhist iconography in their house, but then follow the goddess of mercy. So it's like I don't even know. Everything's just, we're all just vibing,
That works. But that is really interesting. Of just different ways of handling religion, sort of. And I think so many people, especially in Void, because it does unfortunately tend to be a little bit Western-centric, so many people tend to just kind of think of it in the lens of Christianity, but there's so many other ways of handling religion.
Yeah. Definitely. Like, even if they're atheists or what, there's that cultural Christianity, isn't there?
Oh, yeah. And actually, that's a bit of a tangent that I don't know that is entirely relevant, but, like, just recently, I was raised kind of, like, agnostic-ish, but, I mean, it's still Christmas is such a big thing that I only kind of just this year started being like, it's weird how much Christmas is in everything, even if you're not actually Christian.
Yeah. I
But
actually had
yeah.
a really long, interesting talk the other day in a different server about this because I was seeing people start talking about it and be like, reminder that not everyone celebrates Christmas, like Christmas isn't secular. And it got me thinking because um obviously I come at it from a different like angle. For people who like don't know and are just tuning in, I was born and raised in Malaysia. But my dad's English and my mom's from Hong Kong. So it's mostly been an Asian influence, and my mom's been like a bigger presence in my life. And Christmas is a big thing here too in Malaysia, but so is every other big religious holiday. Like Chinese New Year is already being advertised by McDonald's, even though it's on February 16th.
Oh my god.
And like Deepavali, there's a huge thing. Hari Raya, there's a big thing, which I think is called Eid in America. It's like the breaking fast holiday. So to me, it's not a big thing because all of the big religions in this area, like there's no Hanukkah, but there's not really any Jewish people here. Like all the big groups of people get their thing represented. So I'm always like, oh, what do you mean? Like people can celebrate Christmas secularly, and everyone like engages in all the other things. Like I have like 3 friends who every year will hold a Christmas party, and only one of them's Christian, one of them's Muslim, one of them's Hindu. Like, no,
Nice. But
so it
yeah,
is
like,
all pretty much. And I get invited to people's houses for Deepavali and Hari Raya, and I'm not Muslim or Hindu, but you know,
yeah.
it's just how it is. So
Sort of,
I
sorry.
that sort of. Sorry, yeah, no, I don't even know what I'm saying at this point, but I was
Yeah.
just going back to Void quickly. I would like to see like an expansion and inclusion of other holidays, and I was considering doing a little Chinese New Year holiday collab until Love Child got announced, so that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, hey, Chinese New Year Love Child. I don't fucking know. Like, if you get into it, do that. Like, have your first comic be a Chinese New Year comic.
Honestly, it would make sense because if I'm planning, I think Badger is pretty down, but we were planning to do it, and it would be Gold Talon,
Yes.
Gold Chinese. So like, I'm sure that the kid would have some Chinese in him and want to celebrate.
Give us
The tiny
Todd.
Yeah.
I love this boy. Anyways, sort of getting back on track, and kind of going back to what you were saying earlier with the bracelet. On page 4, you actually kind of show Kai tugging at that bracelet as sort of like a nervous gesture. And that's something I've kind of noticed you're pretty good at in comics, is just kind of doing those little characterization moments of body language, or even like on the first page in the background, you've got like uh, on some of the buildings, you've got a little anarch symbol and then fuck the something on the building. And it's a nice little characterization.
Thank you. I've been definitely trying to work that in more. When I first started out on Void, I didn't feel I was good enough to attempt those. But I'm trying to do that now. Because I feel like this isn't to say that like it's easier to do like fighting comics or anything like that. It definitely isn't. I am very shit at that.
God,
But
action poses are the worst.
no, they're so hard, and then you got to do all the foreshortening to make it look good in the perspective. But I feel like when you do comics that are very slow and just sort of focus on small moments, you really do have to reach like a certain level in art, otherwise it looks really awkward. So because people are, they're lingering on the panels
Yeah.
and staring at them for a longer time. So I feel like there's less wiggle room in like a fast-paced comic. So
Yeah,
I felt like I
kinda
wasn't
see
good
that.
enough to attempt that.
You
Yeah.
are. Have more confidence in yourself, my dude.
Thank you. And yeah, it's really nice of you to like mention those things because now I'm like, oh yeah, maybe I'll try that more then if it's being
Yeah, do it,
well.
because again, it gives personality to one, the environment, and two, it's a good, especially with the knowledge that that bracelet is kind of like a religious thing of Kai tugging on that is kind of like him a comfort thing for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I like that.
So I'm just thinking, you talking about the graffiti, like my favorite piece of graffiti is Gold versus Inez. There's one in an alley and it says smoke pot.
Oh, I think I remember that one. I love your graffiti.
Thank you.
Just the little
Should
anarch
do more.
symbol makes me happy. And I think that's almost something, not everybody, because I can think of a couple of other comics that have done that, but a lot of people, including myself, seem to forget about is just graffiti. And especially in a city like Void City, you're gonna get some
Yeah,
graffiti.
yeah. Though I could really do some more. I mean, that's quite minimal. I mean, there's
Yeah,
so much graffiti. I mean, usually you see a graffitied wall and it's absolutely covered.
everything. Oh, I wonder if Void would have, like, street murals.
Oh yeah,
That'd be
that'd be really
cool.
cool.
The city I live in actually has a whole lot of like street art and murals and stuff all over the place. They're really cool. One of them is Yoda. Literally,
Oh
there's
my
a Yoda on the side of a building.
god.
Anyways, that's a major tangent.
This is what
uh,
happens when you get. Wait, you have like ADHD, right?
yes.
Me too. So,
Just two ADHD people like, oh, right, there's this other thing that's
thing, there's this
semi-related.
thing.
Ba. Is there anything that you wish you would have like done instead or done differently or included in this comic? It feels fairly self-contained as is, but is there anything you wish you would have done differently?
Um, well, I'm pretty happy with how it came out, but I definitely had to cut some stuff that I feel might have given a bit more characterization or just set the scene a bit more. I originally the first page was Kai like unpacking in the new flat, and you would see him like already organizing things and setting things up very neatly before he went outside. And I thought that'd be a nice like insight. Like he's very
Particular.
yeah, he's very particular, does this and that, but Sean said, "Oh, you should focus on 4 pages, like make it like an intro comic this 1 week to just like not overload yourself because um he sort of like made a guesstimate of how much time it would take me per page, and he said if you do 4, then you should have like 1 page for rest, like going off my speed and how long it's taken you to do comics in the past. I think that was a really good choice because I did finish this early. I finished this a few hours before I submitted it, but it's nice to have that sort of downtime, and I did have a day off,
Yeah.
so that was cool.
That's
And
definitely
I
important for these big comics is making sure you don't completely burn yourself out.
yeah, and also because I only had a week to
Yeah.
do it, and also I feel like he definitely helped me make it more concise because I definitely lean towards like slow intros. I mean, not intro comics, but slow starts to a comic and
Yeah.
then it gets going. And that's fine as a personal preference, but you can't do that for every comic, especially short ones. So I needed to get myself out of that and be like,
Yeah.
you gotta jump right in sometimes.
And that's really hard is finding that jumping off point that's into the action but not like so far in that you lose readers.
Yeah, and then vice versa, you can't be too slow, or else people will be like, when is it gonna start? Or
Yeah.
get to the end and they'll be like, that's it. There's so
Yeah.
much build up. And for
Just
what?
pacing issues.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, I was
I
gonna
think
say
that's
something
something
and it's gone.
our mood.
But yeah, I think you did kind of get a little bit of the the fact that he just moved here with not only the dialogue but the few little boxes that you've got in the background. I'm wondering
Yeah,
what that one box with the label, what was the full label supposed to be?
oh my god, wait, let me zoom in. Oh,
All I can
fragile.
fragile. Okay. Oh, that's less fun than I was expecting.
I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Guys, a less fun character. I feel like if it was gold, I mean, like his intro comic, he had some boxes labeled, and it was like cool shit to sell, stuff like that. But that is just like fragile.
It's
I
fragile.
think
Be
Hastro would be
careful.
like that too. Oh
Yeah.
no, I'm not sure if Hastro would even write on the boxes. I feel like she would be so good at like remembering details that she'd just like remember what is in each box, like just from how it looks, or just by staring at it. So she wouldn't label anything, and everyone's like, "This is chaos," but she's like, "What are you talking about? I know where everything is."
Rip to you, but I'm different.
Yeah, ripped.
Nice.
I like little things like that, even separating characters.
Yeah. And it shows a lot of thought put into again that little details of characterization and stuff. It shows a lot of thought put into these characters. Eh,
Yeah, I think about them a lot. I'll just sit and just be like,
my imaginary brain children, yes. Eh. Uh, do you have any like concrete plans in the future for Kai? Because this felt like a pretty good setup of it was kind of the typical first day in Void thing, but I felt like you did it in a way that is very uniquely Kai. And so I'm really interested to see what the next comic is gonna be like.
Yeah, I definitely have plans for him. I've been trying to find a good character to fight to lead on from this because I ended it on a cliffhanger, and I don't want to drop that, especially when like I had that hook. I don't want to drop it immediately,
Yeah.
So I need David to introduce him to someone or something like that. I had ideas for either David takes him to a particular place and then I fight someone there. I mean,
Quote
Void
unquote
battle style,
fight.
not
Yeah.
actually Kai fighting somebody, because he probably wouldn't just go up to someone and fight them,
Just be like,
Or
hey, punch.
hey,
Nah, that's gold.
yeah. Old would probably yeet actually, unless
Yeah,
he
that's
thought he
fair.
could win.
He'd like hit and
Or
run.
hit and run. Or Kai, like there's a montage of him maybe wandering around the city with David, nothing comes about. He's kind of defeated by the end of the day, and then he meets someone. So I'm not sure yet. I still have to see who bites.
Yeah.
Because it's like what Flighty said earlier, and especially for Kai, like I want to sort of ease him into Void. Like I kind of want to document his descent, not into madness or whatever, but like he starts off and he's like, "Oh, I'm optimistic. I'm gonna find my sister. I'm gonna, I'm gonna get through it." And then at first things seem okay, and then weirder and weirder stuff starts happening, and then more malicious stuff starts happening, and he's like, oh my god, what did I get myself into? Oh my god.
I kind of like that of like not just dumping him right into the insanity that is Void, but just kind of like that gradual introduction.
Yeah. And I definitely want that to happen before I reveal who he is looking for, or for him to find this person. Because I feel like it will, like the eventual, not confrontation, the eventual
payoff.
Will be a lot more satisfying if he's gone through stuff to find this person, as opposed to just waltzing in and being like, "Oh hi, you're there now."
Yeah, That's kind of how I wanted to do it with Janix looking for his family. Is have a few things of false leads and other stuff, and then get to a potential ending,
Yeah.
or not
Handshake.
necessarily ending, but
Yeah, I know what you mean.
yeah, a plot point.
So yeah, so it's not really linear, but I definitely have like a plan,
Nice.
and I'm curious to see like what battles will take into that point.
Yeah, maybe if you haven't battled anybody by the time I'm open to actually do battles, which probably won't be till like midway next year. I've actually got a couple ideas for things I could do.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Janet Kai family finding party.
Nice. That's a that's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
He just finds a dog. It's like, this dog seems perfectly normal.
Little did he know. It was truly a dog and there's nothing special about it.
Yeah, it's just literally a dog. Anyways, do. Unless I don't know that I have any other really pressing ones, unless you've got like any hidden lore and secret facts that you would like to share about the comic or whatever.
Hmm. Okay, actually there is one thing that I was sort of thinking about that came up with the bits I had to cut out with the organizing and stuff. I thought it would be an interesting little hint if while he's unpacking and he's very neat and orderly and he just seems very nice, but he gets out like a punching bag for his room and it's all clawed up and stuff and you're like, whoa.
It's like, dude, whoa. That would be a neat detail.
Because again, like I don't want to throw this out immediately because I want to set him up first as like being 99% of the time really chill and patient and nice guy, but he does have an anger problem
Yeah.
that he tries very hard to contain, and that's actually part of the reason that he's so buff, because he used to work out and he got angry to not like not unleash it on other people, so now he's ripped.
That's my
He used to be
secret.
a
I'm
really
always
weird
angry.
little kid. It was also partly like to deal with his anxiety as well. Like if he was anxious, he'd work out to work out the nervous energy. So yeah, he got buffed through the power of mental illness.
God, that reminds me of The Good Place with Chidi. That's literally how
Yeah!
Chidi handles his anxieties. He just worked out,
I-
and so now he's weirdly buff.
I wanted to scream because I actually like Kai is quite an old character and he was conceived before I even watched The Good Place, and when I watched it I thought, oh my god, they did it before me.
They
Oh,
took
no.
it. Now people are gonna think I'm unoriginal.
I know. Oh my god.
Yeah,
But
I've had that happen so many times, and it's just like, come on. Now people are gonna think I'm just copying.
Exactly, because like that was just in my brain, like it hadn't been out there yet. I couldn't point to it and be like, yeah, you see, I did it first
Yeah,
because I didn't do it.
because it wasn't out there. It was just sitting in your head, and your head doesn't have timestamps.
Yeah, they can just handshake over it, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, lots of people do it. It's not like
Yeah.
a rare thing. It's just kind of interesting because I've never seen it in media before, and then suddenly it pops up in a show I really like.
Oh, yeah. That's a good show.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting later down the line, after people are used to seeing Kai as this really nice person, to flip his shit even a little bit. Like, oh, yeah. When I imagine him in my head when he's angry, he's quite scary.
Oh yeah, I mean he's got that tiger shapeshift like that's also he's very buff, and very buff
Yeah.
people can be very scary when they're mad.
He's tall too.
Yeah. He's a big boy.
Yeah, big boy. It's funny though, 'cause even though you would assume that as a tiger he'd be really scary, in my head he's almost like at his most docile as a tiger. He's just like big kitty mode, you know?
Yes.
That's my emotional support tiger.
It just sits in a box.
Yeah, I just imagine him just like chilling. He just sits down and I feel like he would revert to his tiger form when he's not sure about how to comfort somebody. Like if they're having a rough time, he'll just be like, "I will be big cat. We'll
He's
sit
like,
next to you. Be warm and furry."
I don't know how to handle your emotions. Here's a cat. It's me. I'm the cat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense, though, because tigers, as large predators, don't usually actually have to be angry that much. They're just kind of there.
Yeah, exactly. They just sleep most of the time.
Yeah.
They're just vibing. Leave them alone.
I love the details that you put into of like how their animal form kind of like bleeds into their human form and the other and vice versa.
I love thinking about it because
It's
I feel
such a
like
fun way to do shapeshifting.
yeah, because I feel like oh god, that really sounded like me tooting my own horn. I didn't mean to.
It's fine.
Like, oh yeah, rip to your shapeshifters, but I'm different. No, but like, that it's something that like I feel like because I've always been interested in shapeshifters from when I was very young, and most of my favorite stories, most of my characters have some element of shapeshifting in them. But I feel like something I rarely see in shapeshifter media, or maybe I just have not found it, I don't know, is that there's not much focus on. Oh, it's really hard to say, but like the things that they will have that are related to the animal side are quite stereotypical, and they only seem to pop up at certain times. It's not like their whole life, their whole like being.
Yeah.
So, and also, I feel like there's a focus on people just turning into vicious beasts and, just getting angry and wanting to destroy things. And I'm like, animals aren't like that, though.
Yeah.
The
For the
vast
most
majority
part.
of the time. Yeah, exactly. You know what? Actually, you want something that's aggressive all the time? Pick a big herbivore.
Oh God. Pick a
Right.
hippo.
Yeah, hippo. Oh,
Oh God. Those things are terrifying.
they are so scary. If I
Yeah.
recall, they're actually responsible for more deaths than like crocodiles and lions and all that.
That
Because
would
they just
not surprise me, because they just don't fucking care. They'll fuck up your
yeah,
shit.
like I'll just kill you. I don't even worry about it.
Yeah. I don't even need to, but I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, but so in these stories, I feel like they don't actually explore like what it would be like to have this sort of animal influence inside them, basically 24/7. And
Yeah.
I think like Animorphs did that really well with Tobias
Oh God, yeah.
because even though he wasn't like a were animal, he was stuck in the body of one with the instincts of one. And I found that so interesting and so sad.
Yeah.
And I want to see more of that. Like, and I also like to explore the relationships that different shapeshifters have with their ability and their other forms because I feel like there's so much interesting potential there. Like, uh, so Kai, I mean, like you said, there's still some element of bleeding because there's always going to be.
Yeah.
But he more or less views himself as a person who also has the ability to turn into a tiger. He doesn't, even though it is clearly there, especially like when he's feeling certain emotions, like you'll see the tiger pop up. He doesn't really acknowledge it. It's just
It's
thing,
more
I
of like
guess.
a utility than a part of him.
Yeah. Whereas Gold is like he doesn't view himself as entirely human, but he doesn't view himself as like a cat either. He just views himself as this sort of in between creature.
Yeah. And that
And
kind
he
of comes
definitely like
cross because Gold tends to act a little bit more feral almost.
Yeah, and like I don't feel like I've done a good job of this in comics so far, and I'm gonna try and do it more later. But like he's only active at night. Um, he definitely, like you said, he's got a bit of feral energy to him. I tried to get in his design a bit more feline features, even though he doesn't have cat ears or a cat tail. But I tried to
Yeah.
incorporate. Like, I would look at pictures of cats when I was designing him and try and work that into human features. I did that a bit with Kai too. Like he's got a kind of tigery face, I hope.
Yeah, I think with the shape of his nose and everything, well, for one, it very much feels like a non-white nose, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
But also it's kind of got that like big, strong nose that tigers tend to have,
Yeah. I
and then
noticed they
the
kind of have
eyebrows.
long... Yes, yeah, the eyebrows are big, and that was also I looked at like Chinese depictions of tigers because they have these big flared like eyebrows,
Yeah.
and he gets those when he's more transformed. Like they get even bigger and more flared.
Eyebrow intensifies.
It intensifies, yeah. Because I'm also interested in that. I mean, obviously, claws and teeth are a big yes in all situations, but
Yes.
I'm interested in seeing the blending of features more than just like um, sort of isolated features transforming. You know?
Yeah. I think with Gold, you mentioned kind of the cat-like expressions and stuff, and I think you managed to get that pretty well, especially with his mouth. Uh, the way you tend to draw his mouth is very reminiscent of a cat.
Oh, great! That's great.
Yeah.
It's really good to hear. Working, and also I feel like Gold is a lot more fluid in his form. Like he's just sort of low key shifting all the time. You
Yeah.
know,
And
you
seems
might
to use it in a lot more applications, like with the Hera, or Hara, however you pronounce that comic.
think it's more. Yeah.
Hara, yeah. With him, like, stealing the belt and making that become part of himself, whereas I don't necessarily, correct me if I'm wrong, but I can't necessarily see Kai doing something like that.
No, he wouldn't, but he does use his shifting in other ways too. That again, I'm going to explore later. I mentioned that he can heal, and he doesn't actually know healing magic. His healing is an extension of his own shifting. So the type of shifter that Gold and Kai both are is it's like a set type, I guess, and they can extend their shifting to anything that touches their skin. So that's how the Hara thing worked, and that's also why both of them will keep their colors of their clothes in their animal forms because they've essentially like it
Merge the
happens
clothes
really
into
quick.
them.
Yeah, it happens really fast, so you're not gonna like see them naked but in the colors of their clothes. But they sort of absorb the clothes and then it comes out in that color.
Which is, I've always loved that detail. It's so fun, and it makes for some really fun, like, the black tiger with the white collar.
Thanks.
That's a really fun coloration for a tiger.
Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't seen more black tigers. Like you see lots of white tigers and strawberry tigers, but I'm like, where's the black ones? I want to see them.
Give me the black tigers.
Hey, black tigers.
So
But
that
yeah,
definitely means, like, if Kai were to wear, like, a bright pink trench
yes.
coat,
No,
he'd...
honestly, like when cause both Gold and Kai come from a head world with these shifters, and I figured like, you probably get actual sparkle wolves because shifters of, you know, who like to dress in that kind of stuff would then turn into like a bright neon wolf. So that's a
That's
thing. Like that's
that's
canon.
so beautiful. I've never thought of that. That's the best.
Sparkle wolves.
Sparkle wolves.
Sparkle wolves.
Okay,
Uh,
legit, this is kind of making me want to make one of these kinds of shifters.
Should. I'd be so happy if people did, honestly. And I have other shifters that I want to make. I feel bad putting too many from the same type into Void because I'm like, I'm not just a shifter. Like, I had a guy who was like a fish, and he was a Dorado, and he would wear like blue lipstick and eyeliner.
Oh my god.
And like the fish is it's a bright tropical fish. It's like bright blue and yellow and green, and like he was like this pretty flamboyant gay guy, and it fit him so well. Like he would wear bright clothes and then be this bright fish.
Nice.
But then I couldn't figure out more beyond the initial concept, so I sort of put it aside.
Yeah.
Um,
I definitely feel you though on like not wanting to, especially like not wanting to enter a bunch of the same category of character onto Void.
yeah.
Like I keep
Even
being
though they
like,
all have different personalities, like they're still
yeah,
kind of the same type. And so you can't explore different things related to like their situation, I guess.
yeah.
So sorry, could I just quickly say this? Because I meant to say it and then I went on a tangent again.
Go ahead.
I was saying that you were talking about applications of shifting, and I was talking about Kai and his healing. So that thing about touching skin, blah, blah, blah. So that means if he touches another person, he could also shift them. And he uses that to heal. So if you are injured, he will basically shift the injury shut or shift a bone to be full again.
That's
So it's not healing magic. It's kind of like flesh weaving, actually. The flight.
You know, actually, yeah. It's interesting. Also, kind of terrifying. I don't like the idea of my bones just like knitting themselves back together. That's freaky.
Yeah, it is. I like it though.
Yeah.
Also, you think about like how surgeries and stuff take place. Like you don't like to think about it. You just like to think about the end. You're like, oh, everything's stitched up. It's fine. It's nice. But if you actually think about what surgery is, it's really fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I like to have that, and I like a little bit of uncomfortable.
just a little bit of body horror.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go make your character. I'd love to see people's takes on these.
I don't know. I already have like 3 different concepts for characters that I want to enter, but I'm also like, I don't want to have too many characters in Void, but
That is fair.
Anyways.
I think this is a good place to wrap up as well.
Yeah, same.
Thank you for listening to me ramble about characters for over 40 minutes.
Thank you for rambling about them. It was very enlightening. Yes.
Yeah. Oh wait, should we like sign off? Should
Probably.
we say like bye or something? Okay, bye.
I was gonna say this has been Battle Pass. Our I forgot the term.
What was
Backstage Pass. Why did I say Battle Pass?
You're thinking of a void on the brain.
Yeah. Backstage Pass. The pilot episode of this podcast we're thinking of doing. That's about it.
Yeah. Thank you for listening if you did.
Yes.
And give us thoughts.
Feedback,
see if
opinions.
We should do this again or
Yeah. It was really fun. I would very much like to do this with more people and get their thoughts and behind the scenes. Give us the deep lore.
Love hearing character stuff and like what is planned for the future. It gets me so hyped.
Yes, and then also just like thinking or getting the thought process behind decisions that were made.
Yeah.
Well, We'll see you next time, maybe. Later.
Bye.
Bye.